Okay, it's Tuesday, June 6th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a kind of a two-down failure day where we took out the low of the previous day and we worked our way up for most of the session and ended up with a green day. It sets up an actionable signal tomorrow, kind of a two-up signal should it develop that has a target to the highs of the week, and then we ultimately, as we've been discussing, have this target in the bigger picture up here to the red line. In terms of the weekly chart at the moment, after starting the week with a gap up a little bit, we've come down, but we're holding the midpoint of that prior week. So we've always been kind of looking for some kind of reversal to develop to continue that uptrend, and today might have been the start of it. Now, in terms of structure itself, it was kind of a little tricky in terms of how to trade it. I shot a very quick video here early in the morning showing how the first bar did come down, took out the lows of the prior red day. We were anticipating that, but then you had the pause here on bar 2. So the only actionable signal in terms of the first move of the day was kind of a buy in here if you wanted to take it, although you're below the midpoint of the prior day and you're kind of, at that point, you don't really know if you're going to really get a true reversal day. Maybe it's just going to be a quick green to red move, and you're going to, look to maybe go short if you kind of attack these lows, which never happened. And as it turns out, if you did buy it here, your first target was kind of right here, these pre-market highs, which is either you can see these two pivots, and then this blue line, which was a technical high. So on that one bar, it got up there, and that's where it started pausing, and that's where I shot my video. Is that going to be the only move you're going to get on the day? Although it was a big enough move where it looked a little tricky to really get short unless you really came down strongly. And I was talking about how buying the first pullback at that point is something I just want to make sure we have an uptrend. Either we got the pullback in here that came back to the kind of maybe the midway point of that first move in the first 3 bars and then started up. In this case, we paused and head higher, so your first pullback was right in here. Now, it wasn't a clear signal on the 15-minute chart to buy, but if you go to the 5-minute chart, which sometimes you have to do, you can see a very clear reversal signal here on the 5. That pullback, the first pullback I was talking about, it really gave you a good signal here to get long, to test those highs again. And obviously it did come up, and I'll get into a minute, it didn't take out that high, it tied it. And that's kind of a sign in itself that it's going to eventually get back up there, but I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, if you didn't take that and you missed it, the tricky thing here is this is more of an inside bar, this green. So in other words, you got the pullback inside bar, and if you bought it up here, you're looking for it to take out that high, and you just missed it. And who knows, after this red bar, you might have taken a small loss if you didn't scale out here and you thought it was going to go a lot higher. At this point, we hadn't taken out the midpoint of the prior day, and then it failed. So, we never got to the midpoint of this day to really have the look for the outside bar to the upside all day long, and then you get the failure. So this is a little tricky in here, but nevertheless, once you had the trend of the day up, you're looking for that first pullback. So I'm pointing that out. Then, like I said, it just gave you a double top up here, and that's the market setting up liquidity for the future. You kind of have to, with the whole algorithmic nature of price movement, know that. You had an up bias, and that's usually not going to ever hold, 2 equal highs, and that's why we took it out on the very last bar of the day. But in terms of the market then coming down, it kind of did the same thing here. Here was an obvious reversal area on that first move. That sets up some liquidity if the market's going to be choppy, to take out some stops down there, which it did, and then it eventually reversed up. And again, if you look at this green bar here, once it came down and took that out, this isn't necessarily a big reversal bar. I guess you can call it that, but it's more of just a rally bar after the red, and then you get a little bit of a green up, and then in one more push down, this bar has much more the look of a reversal bar near the lows, and then that one took out eventually those highs. So again, very tough in terms of if you had the up bias all day, you're kind of looking to buy down here when it takes out some liquidity. The question is, where would you have gotten in and how would you have played it? I'm not saying it's easy. You didn't take out the midpoint of the prior day on this move, so you might not have been looking to buy, and that's fine. You would have not been looking to sell, and so you could have missed all this, truthfully, on this kind of a day. And the only trade to really get into was this first pullback right in here, and that was more on the 5-minute chart. And then the question of if you didn't scale out here, you might have had a break even on that trade once you saw it kind of fail. So again, tricky day in terms of trading the SPY, but not tricky at all in terms of just our outlook, which is an uptrend that's continuing up here, looking for, this. We could have had a big red day that came all the way down into this gap, but once you saw that opening price action here start up, that kind of nullified that unless something really came down strongly into this area. So you're biased up all throughout this move. It's just a question of how you wanted to, play it, if at all. And, if you didn't play it at all, then you're kind of just patiently watching to see if this day sets up for like a 2 down and then a 2 up tomorrow into, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday type of thing. We'll see if that develops. So that's really the way things work today. We still have the uptrend intact. The weekly chart is just about, neutral at the moment after 2 days with a target up there. And we will see, at this point, you got the actionable signal to the upside. So we'll see if that unfolds. And if so, then again, big picture target, the red line, which is these highs kind of right up here that I, still am looking for price to take out until this weekly chart here, gives you some kind of a big failure. And even if the weekly chart gives you a failure, it can still come down and eventually get a 2 down, 2 up kind of week or some kind of other reversal as well. So just still biased to the upside until some major failure occurs, and we're nowhere near seeing that yet. And we got the buying right out of the gates here on that gap down, and that's kind of a sign it still, to me, wants to be heading up this way, and the selling's really not in play yet. So let's see what happens tomorrow.